Two cups side by side, roughly the same caffeine. One of them leaves you sharp for an hour and flat by the afternoon, and the other holds you steady for most of the day. I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's find out why. They carry almost the same stimulant, so why do they feel different? I've spent years paying attention to that difference, and it comes down to a single ingredient that coffee simply doesn't have. My name is Christian, and I spend my days around tea with a brand called OnewithTea. This is the question I get more than any other. Does tea actually do anything, or is it just hot leaf water? So here's what I'll give you with the limits included. How much caffeine is really in your tea, which is more than most people think. The one compound that makes it feel so different from coffee, and how to brew so you get the steady cup of tea instead of the jittery one. I won't oversell it. I'll just tell you what's in the cup and what the research actually says. So let's clear up the biggest myth first, that tea is basically caffeine free. People always think, people know that tea has a little bit of caffeine, but not as much as it actually has. So the tea leaf naturally holds caffeine, and depending on how you make it, it can hold quite a bit. A steeped green tea is gentle, often somewhere around 25 to 40 milligrams a cup. But matcha is a whole different story, because you whisk the whole ground leaf, the whole powdered leaf, right? The leaf is turned into powder, into the water. You whisk that into the water and drink all of it, right? You swallow all of it, right? So a typical bowl of matcha lands around 60 to 70 milligrams of caffeine, in the neighborhood of a shot of espresso. A regular cup of coffee usually runs higher still, often 95 milligrams or more. Okay, so tea is not the weak option, especially not matcha. Some of it is generally strong, and that's the first thing to let go of. So if the caffeine is similar, why does the feeling differ so much? Well, that's because tea carries something that coffee doesn't. An amino acid called L-theanine. When you drink tea, you take in caffeine and L-theanine together in the same cup, right? And researchers who have studied that pairing keep landing in roughly the same place. Caffeine on its own tends to spike you quickly, and L-theanine alongside it seems to take off the edge, supporting steadier attention rather than a sharp jolt. And I want to be fair about this because the internet kind of badly oversells it. The studies are mostly small and the effect is modest, and it shows up on some kinds of attention and not others, right? This isn't medicine, but the pairing is real, and it's something a coffee bean simply doesn't offer, right? So there are two reasons. The first is simple. The first is simple: speed and dose. Coffee usually delivers a bigger hit faster, and what rises quickly tends to fall quickly. Tea, especially steep tea, releases more gently in the body. And the second is that L-theanine smoothing the curve instead of letting it spike and drop. So it's less like flipping a switch and more like a light coming up slowly on a dimmer, right? And the same energy arriving differently in a way, right? And honestly, that's the part I've come to value the most about tea. And whereas coffee tends to push you into the day, tea is more willing to kind of sit in it with you, right? And that's why I've come to love it. It's always kind of like where I am, is tea with me. And here's the practical part, because you can brew tea badly and also, lose the very thing that makes it good. And it comes down to two things: heat and time. So water that's too hot scorches a delicate green tea and pulls out the harsh bitterness. And for most green teas and for matcha, you'll want it a little bit cooler than boiling, around 176 of Fahrenheit, somewhere around 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, right? Let the kettle rest a minute or two after it clicks off, and don't oversteep a green tea. 30 seconds to a minute is often plenty, depending, of course, on the green tea that you're making. Longer doesn't make it stronger. It usually makes it more bitter, right? So With matcha, there's no steeping at all, which you know. You whisk it a couple of grams, about a teaspoon into some water, and there you go. So you get the heat and the time right, and the cup will give you the reward back. Make sure you keep that in mind. And yeah, tomorrow, instead of making your third coffee, maybe you make yourself a proper cup of tea, brewed gently, and pay attention to the next couple of hours. Notice how it actually feels. And you won't feel those coming down crashes so much if you drink tea, right? So I wish you something delicious in your cup, and hope to see you soon.